Welcome back to the workbench where we're continuing to work on the Dale Earnhardt build. This is a 1995 model, or a model from 1995, a Monogram model that I picked up on eBay years ago. And just as a quick review, turns out it's missing the wheels and tires. So we're going to do a bit of a special build with it. But right now what we're working on is the engine. And I went ahead between episodes and prepped up some stuff. So I've pre-painted everything. So we've got the engine block with the heads and the intake on it now. I've got it all painted up nice in aluminum. In fact, I've got everything to here. Make sure you guys can see all this all painted up. So we'll be able to do right now is go ahead and get a motor assembly put together. And then I think we're going to weather it up like it's been run for a bit because, like I said, this is missing the wheels and tires. So we're going to do a bit of a pit scene. Where it's up on jack stands with no wheels and tires. It's the best I could really come up with to do with it. I think it'll look pretty cool. I think we're going to rough up the car a little bit like it's back in the garage and it's being worked on. So that'll be fun. But let's go ahead and get this motor put together. Basically, this is done. We just need to add the pan, the oil pan here, which I painted up steel. I'm pretty well following the paint code, except for a lot of these parts were chrome, which didn't make sense to me, so I painted them aluminum. In fact, you can go back and see all this in the last episode. There is a playlist for this build. If you miss any parts, you want to go back and check some out, just go check the playlist. But let's go ahead and get this put in. I'm going to dry fit it real quick. It should fit pretty well. It's tight in there. Yeah, but it's all right. I've already kind of scratched out some of the paint here, and I've removed the paint here so that we can get this a good gluing surface. Using my Starbond medium glue. Again, if you want a discount on really what is one of the best CA glues out there, there's a discount down in the comment section if you want to catch a discount on some Starbond. I'm using their medium, which is kind of best for this application for doing models and the like, kind of craft work. Let me just get one little drop up front, and I think I'm gonna put one little drop in the back, just like that. I don't use activator when I'm doing this kind of stuff. I don't use activator with it. I just go ahead and just kind of use it as super glue. I'm gonna hold that tight just for a bit here. It is kind of wanting to pull away, so the oil pan itself is trying to not fit flush up in there. It's just because it's a tight fit between this harmonic balancer and the bell housing there. But I like that. I want a nice tight fit where all the seams are nice and closed up, and it looks good to me. So let's see if that glue's gonna hold. Let me hold it just a second. Hopefully we've got enough surface. You want to make sure and get the paint off the surface. Otherwise you're gonna glue to paint, and then when you let go with your thumb here and it springs, it's just gonna pull the paint off. And that's all you glued to. So you gotta try to get that plastic to plastic bonding surface when you glue these. I could, do I have a clamp? I don't know if I have a clamp. Let me see if that, oh, nope, it's holding. It takes about, with the Starbond stuff, it takes about 30 seconds. Just give good tight pressure. This is without activator, obviously. Give good tight pressure for about 30 seconds, and then you're good to go, and that's got us. And that actually looks, I think that looks pretty good. Okay, so that's got us there. Now we need to do, in the next step, they want us to put on, I already put our intake on because that helped me align the heads, makes that a little easier. So we just need to do carburetor, air filter, distributor with wires, and then valve covers. I did go ahead and put this breather on. Let me show you. I painted, hopefully you can see that. I painted the filter on the breather white, and I've left this stuff chrome. I don't think this was actually chrome on the real car. I would imagine it was probably just raw aluminum or painted aluminum. But I left these chrome. I left the valve covers chrome, and I also left the air cleaner chrome. And you can see I just went in and painted the air filter white and then left the rest chrome. And I think, I'm trying to decide if I want to go ahead and glue this stuff up. I think so. I think I'm gonna go ahead and put these on. But what I need to do first is clean off some of this paint here. I figured we could do this together. So I think I'll make here, which actually these are chrome underneath here, so it's just coming back to the chrome. So I need to try to scrape down through that chrome plating too, really. Let me see if I can. Yeah, it's getting down. I think that got down. Yeah, it's getting down to the black. That chrome plating is actually scraping off pretty easy. Do this on both sides. Again, you just want to make sure you got a good gluing surface or good bonding surface. And what I did with, I've already actually done it with the valve covers. I think I did at least. Yeah, I just took my sanding stick I have here. It's just a flat sanding stick, and just literally just rub it flat on there. And that'll get rid of that chrome surface. Where's my other valve cover? That'll get rid of that chrome surface that's on there for you, but it'll also flatten it out. So it'll kind of give it a nice planing of a flat, in case there was any imperfections in that. Now the breather goes on this side, so I want to make sure and glue these up correctly. All right, what's going to be the easiest way? I think I'm going to just drop. This is medium viscosity, I guess you would call it. So it's just a hair thicker, but it's still a little bit thin. It'll still run on you, so you got to be kind of careful. So I'm going to put very carefully on either side of that, and then let's. So there's a kind of a hump in the middle. I really just let it put the glue on the hump itself and let it run over each side. Now, like I said, we need to hold this. Generally, like I said, with Starbond, it's about 30 seconds with just a little bit of pressure. Don't go crazy. You don't have to break anything, like your fingers or the part you're working on. Just a little bit of pressure. Now, what you could do if you wanted, I put the glue on the block side or on the head side here. I could spray the valve cover side with activator and then put it together, but it's a one-shot deal. It's going to stick, so you don't get much leeway as far as missing. So that's why I kind of like to do it this way. It takes just a hair bit longer because you do have to sit there and hold it with pressure, but you can see got a nice bond there. But it gives you a little more leeway to work. And if your CA is running too much, you can always go to a thick CA. I usually use this. In fact, I can show you exactly where I use this. Yeah, I think it was this header. You can still see there's a little bit of a gap, right? You probably can't even see it. It's so small now. Basically, this didn't squeeze, or when it did squeeze all the way together, this collector at the end of the header, there was still, just from bad molding, there was a gap there. Well, I used the thick CA glue, glued that, for there, and it fills that gap. Let it dry up, and then I was able to sand it smooth, so you don't even see the gap there anymore. That's a good use for your thick CA glue. Or if you're having problems with it running too much, you can use some thick stuff. But this worked out pretty well here. Basically, what we want to do is just hold this surface flat to the world. That way it doesn't go running down the block or the rest of our part there. I'm putting it right in the middle and then letting it run over each side, which seems to be working. We'll put our valve cover on, and of course the real key to all this is to just not get it on your fingers. That's the goal always when using CA glue. Just don't get it on your fingers. That's always my main goal. This one's sitting it's kind of rocking around a little bit. I think I need it right there. Okay. Yeah, find that flat surface it's supposed to be sitting on. Let's hold that pressure just for a little bit. I think what we're going to do with this motor while I'm sitting here holding this, we're going to weather it up just a little bit. I don't want to make it look destroyed or anything. I just want to make it look like it's actually been run around a track for, I don't know, whatever, 200 miles or something. And now it's had to been taken back to the garage. Or maybe it's just post-race. We'll just say it's a post-race and it's getting a checkup, or shakedown or whatever after the race back in the garage. So it's got the wheels and tires off. Maybe they're doing a once over with the brakes. I don't know. You can make up whatever story you want for it. I didn't want to waste this kit. I wanted to build a Dale Earnhardt car. I bought this years ago, probably at least a decade ago, if not more, off of eBay. I don't remember if it was listed as saying it didn't have the wheels and tires. There we go, that glues up. I don't remember, or if I just kind of got screwed on it. I don't remember. It's been so long ago. Either way, it doesn't matter. I did have another NASCAR kit that we talked about. I had a Davey Allison kit, but I didn't want to. We could steal the wheels and tires from that, but then I have an incomplete. That kit's incomplete, and so, anyways, I think we're going to do it this way. It'll be fun. It'll be something fun to do. Okay, so that's got our heads on. I want to do the heads. I think I want to go ahead and put the carburetor on. So I'm trying to think how far I want to take this before I go in here, because basically I'm just going to use some black wash. I'll show you how to use some black wash to give it a little age and some definition and detail. It'll look kind of nice. It's very simple. This carburetor goes on. Let me make sure I always want to make sure we're doing this the right way. Looks like, well, it has to fit in here. So let's see. I think it has to go this way. It's kind of hard to tell. It's not hard to tell. I think it goes this way, like this. So what I want to do is I'm just going to kind of scratch out the inside of the hole. There's a hole here. There's a hole in a peg that this is going to glue. I try to not get any glue when I painted this in here, but just in case, I'm going to scratch it out like that. And then I'm going to take my knife, come in here and just try to scratch off this paint here. And if I really should have not. Oh, and it's chrome again. It has that chrome underneath because these were chrome parts, which I couldn't imagine why you would have on a race car a chrome intake. I mean, the heads were chrome or off the chrome tree. Your heads definitely wouldn't be chrome on a race car. I mean, heads just aren't chrome, period. Okay, so I got that kind of scraped off a little bit there. And so now I'm just going to glue that peg. In fact, I think because it's going to have a little gap in there. I'm going to use the thick stuff. Now, this thick stuff, the Starbond thick is thick. So it can take a little bit of, you probably can't see it. I'm seeing it slowly come down the tip there. You got, like, I'm squeezing pretty hard. It's very thick stuff. And come on, you're almost there. I don't want it to come shooting out at us here. There we go. Okay, we'll let that set because I want it to make sure it kind of fills in this gap here. Now I just want to make sure our carburetor gets on here square. And I think that's going to be pretty good. Now I did paint the carburetor. So the carburetor, I think it was chrome also, wasn't it? Yeah, the carburetor was chrome. I painted it kind of a gold color, like it's a holly. I think the main body. I gotta think off the top of my head. I think the main body of the carburetor would actually be more of a silver color. And then the bowls, I think the bowls are kind of a brass color. I'm trying to think. It's been a long time since I've messed with a carburetor. But I think that's the coloration it really should be. But I just did it all gold because once the filter goes on, you don't actually even really see it. I mean, it kind of covers it all up anyways. But it'll give the hint of that kind of color underneath there. I don't think I'm going to actually put the filter on just yet. I'm going to let this dry up. By the way, the thick glue, the thicker the CA glue, the longer it takes to dry or to fully bond. So just keep that in mind. Again, this is all without activator. I could hit it with activator and it would go off instantly. But I think we're going to stop right here because what I'm going to do next is actually grab my black wash, which is right here on my rack back here. I've got this is Vallejo Game Wash. It's really meant for doing like the little gaming figures. It's the only black wash I have right now, I believe. A lot of times I'll just make my own washes. You can, little dish soap water and some black paint, some black acrylic, you can kind of make your own wash. But I've got this on hand, so I think this is what we're going to use now. What I need, and what I didn't think about, I've got one down here. I keep a collection of bottle caps. What is this one? It's a Crawford box. It's a Houston beer. I keep a collection of bottle caps because I use these to hold my wash. So what I'll do, give this a good shake up, like so. And then I'll just put some in my bottle cap. A very disposable kind of thing. I'm going to use this. I'm going to use this brush here. It's got a little better bristles on it. And then what we'll do, I'm going to take it and just kind of wash, give everything a washing like so. You know what? I forgot to grab. Oh, they're over there. I'll grab one here in just a second. Just give it a washing. Now, these washes will dry a lighter color than you apply them. So keep that in mind. So what I'll probably do is give this a wash, including the chrome. Now, it might not work as well on the chrome. Yeah, it is. That works good. It's just going to give it a little bit of a dirtier look. I'll use my finger a lot of times with washes. Probably shouldn't, I guess. I don't know. Just to give it a little bit of a dirtier look. But I'll give it a wash like this, just a once over. So I'll notice I'm not wiping anything back right now. Well, except for what I did with my finger. Just because it sits pretty thick. It's pulling up on this chrome. The chrome is, it's very slick surface and it'll kind of pull up on you. But right now, I'm just going to spread it out across everything like so. Just like this. Go ahead and get the heads. And I'm just going to do the engine itself right now because I'm holding on to the transmission. So we'll do the engine first, and then we'll do the transmission. And you want to let it, in the low areas, try to let it pull. If that makes sense. Let it pull up in those, like in between these head bolts and stuff. I'm going to try to let it pull up in there. Make little pools of black wash. Like down in here, I'll add extra like down into underneath the runners of the intake here, kind of either side. And again, this is going to dry up lighter than what we're applying, what it looks like applied. That went a little heavy, so again, you can always just wipe it back if you got a little more than you wanted, which it went a little heavy on that, on the carburetor, which is okay because it's going to get covered anyways. But you can already see. Hopefully you guys can see where we're going with this. Like so. We'll just kind of give a little wash to the pan down here. Little wash down here to the bottom of the block. Just like so. Now what I'll do is I'll let this kind of dry up as it is. I'm going to smooth the chrome out a little bit. Like so. I'll let that dry up. Or we'll let that dry up right now. We'll set it to the side, let it kind of dry. I'm kind of liking how this is looking. Again, you can just kind of move that wash around where you want it with your brush, like so. Let me get that a little better look there. And then once it's dry, we'll take another look at it and see what we want to do. And that's usually when I'll come in, apply wash, and then wipe it back so that we are more just getting the wash on the in the deeper recesses. So you're just kind of adding that depth, trying to add some depth to it and some dirt and grime at the same time. Let me wash this up real quick. Okay. Yeah, so let's set this. I'm going to set this aside. Let's set it over here where you guys can still see it. Keep an eye on it. The other thing I wanted to do real quick is I have some gray, and this is actually line accent color by Tamiya. This is meant to do like it's a wash really meant for panel lines, like on airplanes and that kind of thing. This I want to use on our filters. So let me set the black wash over there for right now. I actually have, this is the real stuff here, and what I want to do, let's get it shaken up first of all. And then I'm going to just take some gray wash across our white filter, and I'm going to lay it in and wipe it off. So let me, I'm going to reach across you guys real quick. Sorry. And I'm going to grab what I have back over there is a Q-tip. And that's what I'm going to use to wipe it back with. So let me give this a good shake. All right. And let's see. And this is nice because it has its own little brush. See, it's meant for, hopefully you guys can see that. It's meant for, like I said, doing the panel lines on like an airplane. But what I wanted to do, we've got these pleats. The filter looks pleated, so I want that to kind of just fall down into those pleats, and then I'll wipe it with the In fact, I might just let it be just like this. I like how this is looking. It's so it naturally just runs into those recesses, or the what in this case is pleats. So it kind of falls off the high spots for you anyways. You might not have to even wipe this down either. Just smooth it out, or just pull it kind of smooth like so. Hopefully you guys can see the difference now for that. And then of course, once we apply this, I wanted to do this separately from the motor so that we could do it separately. Once we glue this onto the motor, I'll also kind of wash up the top of this a little bit, just give it a little dirt and grime. But for now, let's set that aside. I also wanted to do, I'm going to just add just a hair to this breather filter. Just kind of run it across like this, just so it's not this bright white. Like right now, it's just bright white because I painted it flat white. So I'd like to, there we go. And that gives it a lot more depth. I don't know if you guys can see that or not. But it just gives it a little more realism. I don't know what the right word is. It gives it depth and grit and grind, and like it's actually something, but which I think is going to work. So let's set that aside. Now I think what we'll do, I think I can probably, this should probably be dry. I'm going to go ahead and do the transmission side here. Let's get it kind of washed down a little bit. It's a little too heavy. There we go. And the transmission actually probably would be even dirtier and grimier. It's up underneath the car, taking a lot of the when you go through a race, you got a lot of rubber, grime, dirt, exhausts from the car in front. You know, just everything's kind of flowing underneath the car. And this transmission is probably going to get a lot of that, I would think. I would guess. I've never worked on a real NASCAR after a race, but I would have to assume that would be the case. Let's just move. Again, I'm just trying to move the wash. So washes are, if you haven't ever used one, they're just really thinned out. Essentially, just really thinned out paint, kind of. So it flows. So but the point being is it's very thin, and you can move it around pretty easily. There, I kind of like that. Let's set that down right there. Move that out of the way, clean the brush again. And we'll let that dry up a bit. So then next we have our headers and then the front accessories, essentially. What do we have? We have some belts, and we have the sump belt. We have a power pump, whatever that is. Is that a power steering pump? I don't know. Do NASCARs have power steering? I think they do. They do now, right? The next-gen cars have power steering. I think it's Indy. Isn't Indy the only series that does not have power steering? I think. I don't know. Correct me in the comments down below that these older NASCARs have power steering. What is a power pump? Is that a power steering pump? What are we powering? I'm not for sure what that is. And then we have an alternator, of course. So anyway, so I've already pre-painted the headers. The headers themselves were white, and the collectors were silver. We're painting them white. I guess they would wrap them. Yeah, I'm assuming that these would be wrapped. That's why they're white. They're wrapped with heat wrap, whatever you call that stuff. There's our headers. What I did with painting the pulleys and belts, I painted it all. Hopefully you guys can see this. So I painted it all flat black, and then came back with semi-gloss black. So I painted it all with FX1, which is flat black, right? And then I came back and did just the pulleys with, and it's hard to read this, it's X18, which is semi-gloss black. So the pulleys are semi-gloss, and then, I'm sorry, yeah, I said that right. The pulleys are semi-gloss, and the belts are just flat black. Hopefully you can kind of see that via YouTube, but it gives it, it just makes it look, if you do it all flat black, it all becomes one piece. If you go in there and give some different sheens, some slightly different colors, that kind of thing, it really helps things to not look so flat, if that makes sense. I don't even mean flat colored, but just flat, like it makes it more, obviously it is three-dimensional, but it makes it even more three-dimensional, if that makes sense. I hope it does. We got our alternator, and what I did with the alternator was actually chrome. I didn't want a chrome alternator. I don't think a NASCAR would have a chrome alternator. I don't think they care about that stuff. So what I did is I painted the alternator silver, and then it has these brackets on it. I just did those. I went back and forth. I ended up doing them steel. I didn't know if they would be black, maybe, or if they would be aluminum also. But I just did them steel just to give, again, a variety of color to it. And then here's our sump belt. And then where is our, oh, I think did I put it in here? No? Uh-oh. By the way, this is the monkey head. This is what I usually keep all the small pieces in so I don't lose them. I seem to be missing our power pump. Where are you at, power pump? Where have you gone? Oh no, I should have used the this is the whole point in the monkey head, is to not lose these small tiny pieces. I am not seeing it. I have it painted. I just painted it flat black if I ever find it. By the way, here's our distributor and plug wires. So it called for the plug wires to be light blue and the distributor tan. So I followed that, and then I just did, it had some kind of straps around the plug wires. So I did those with the semi-gloss black. I have got to find this. I might have to just find it on my own time because I don't want to waste you guys' time looking for a missing piece. So I think I can probably put that on at any time. I can add it later. But I'll tell you what we're going to do. I think I'm going to go ahead and put the pulleys on. Do we need to add, how do we need to do this? Actually, let's do, what's going to be easier? Yeah, I think I want to do the headers last because sometimes they can be kind of fidgety. But do I need to add this stuff first? Oh, I just found the power pump. I guess I was test fitting it. It's right here. It's already on there. I think I was test fitting it in between episodes. That's what I was doing. Yeah, that's why it's right there. Because I was trying to figure out, I remember now, I was trying to figure out how I was going to glue this. Because it comes, the point on that thing comes through here. I don't want glue coming through there. I might not. It fits nice and tight. I might just leave it just like that. I think that's what I'm going to do. I don't know exactly how it's supposed to sit on there. It's hard to tell. I think something like, no, I think a full 180 over this way is how it's supposed to be, like that. You know what? I am going to put a touch of glue on there because I'm afraid I'll end up losing it if I don't. So let's do that first. I think I'm going to put all the accessories on the pulleys here real quick. This will be nice and easy. I should be able to just put just a touch. I don't want much because I don't want this to squeeze through the front side is my worry. My hand is shaking them. Squeeze it. There we go. That's just literally just a touch of glue there, which I think will do the job. Let's stick it back through. Yeah, that didn't, sometimes your glue can make a mess. So I try to be very careful gluing anything to not make a mess with it. But I think that's going to be just fine as long as we don't touch it. Get that squared up. Okay, now I guess we'll go ahead and put the alternator on. Should I put it on now or should I put these? No, I think I'm going to have to put it on now. The hard part is it's hard to tell. I think they want it I think it goes like this. I'm trying to see how the brackets are arranged. I think it looks like the bracket kind of aims towards the water pump like so. So what I'm going to do, let me clean out the mounting hole here on the alternator. Again, I tried not to paint in these holes when I actually painted the piece. So that should be okay. And then let me clean off the peg. Clean off some of the paint of the peg here, so we can get a good glue up surface. I need a new blade on my X-Acto. It's starting to get, I've got paint all over it. I've been using it for everything other than an actual cutting utensil. So it's gotten a little dirty. So let me, I think I'm going to put the glue in the hole here. It's going to be the easy way to do this. Like so. That was probably more than I really wanted to put in that, but that's all right. Now, what I want to do, how do they have this? They have it with that kind of pointing towards Yeah, that pointing towards the water pump. I think this bracket, I think that's how they have it here. What I'm trying to figure out is how, but no, the alternator would sit more. I don't know where, because it doesn't, I don't know how to face the brackets for the alternator. I think that's about right. Yeah, I think it would mount somewhere right around the water pump, I would think. So the two brackets on here, I'm facing them towards the water pump, because they're just kind of there. They're not they don't actually connect to anything. It's the way it's a monogram model. That's it gives the impression there's a bracket there, but they don't actually go anywhere. But I do want them to try to go in the right direction at least. So next we're going to have to mount, I'm going to go ahead and mount this. I'll put the what is that called? The sump belt on after we've mounted these up. I think it'll be the right way to go. I'm going to clean out these holes for our mounting purposes, like so. So doing that, by the way, cleaning out these holes is going to get two things for you. One, it's going to get the paint out of the hole so that your pegs actually fit in there, but it's also going to give you that clean mounting surface. I'm going to do the same thing here. By the way, I don't know if I mentioned, I did go through the body of this, or the block and all the parts of this, and I tried to sand out all the mold lines, tried to just clean everything up, because there's a lot on these old Monogram models. They're not the cleanest of molds, so you got to kind of give them a cleanup. But what I did is I glued it up, glued it all up, and then went and sanded everything smooth and sanded off all those mold lines. Okay, now let's very carefully, I think I'm going to apply this glue again very carefully to the pegs here. And less is more. Just remember what the old Bauhaus said, less is more. All right. If you're not familiar, Bauhaus was a design group back in the early 1900s. Came up with the phrase less is more. That was their, when it came to their style, or their, the way they designed. It was a kind of a graphic design group way back in the day. And coming out of the 19th century, here's a little lesson while we glue this up. But by the way, I have a degree in graphic design. That's the only reason I know this kind of crap. So back in the day, so turn of the 19th century, everything was very ornate. Everything was very busy. So think of crown moldings in homes at that time. Think of, they were all very ornate, scroll work, all that kind of stuff. Then the Bauhaus came along and said, less is more, which is what I live by. I love. And then that's what eventually led into like mid-century modern, where everything became very less, it was, the thought in design became more about the form, and a little more about the function, I guess I should say, a little more about the function, and the form became more simple, like mid-century, so 1950s. But Bauhaus was in the 30s, 20s, 30s. Anyways, fun little story while we glued this up. By the way, correct me on how wrong I was about all of that down in the comments, but I'm pretty sure that's pretty correct. So that gives us our front assembly there, which I think looks pretty good. Yeah, I don't know what that power pump, but it's there. It's there, and it's where it's supposed to be. So now what we need to do is connect our sump belt to our sump pump here, which the bigger pulley goes on that side. Let me let this dry up just a little bit. I don't want to cause any problems trying to mount this. I'm going to let it dry just a little bit. Let's go ahead and bring this back over. So we could probably go ahead and put our filter on while the front assembly kind of glues up, because this should all be good to go. Let me clean this out a little bit. Yeah, so you can see the gold paint I just pulled out of there. And then Let me see if I can clean off some of this chrome without actually cutting the little peg off. It has a tiny little peg in here. Yeah, I think it'll be all right. Let's just drop some glue on this side, I think. Right, well, let's sit, and then the filter goes towards the back of the motor. The open part, the open filter part goes towards the back of the motor. Let's make sure we hit a peg into that hole. I think that's right. The hole is way bigger than the peg, so we'll try to just make sure we're clocked correctly here, and then make sure we're kind of centered. I'm just going to let that sit for a second. Will that sit on its own? Yeah, I'm going to let that sit for a second and dry up because I don't want to knock that off. The other thing we can do, we'll add in a second here, is our distributor and wires. I think I really do want to let that dry up just a second. So while that dries up, I'm actually going to talk about the chassis. So coming up next, probably tomorrow, we're going to start building out the chassis, and I've already started looking at it. So I need to figure out how we're going to do this. So the chassis is meant to be Chevy engine red, so it's kind of that red orange. Now I couldn't at the local hobby shop. All they had was reds. I went down to the AutoZone and U-Pole. They just call this gloss red by U-Pole. I got this at AutoZone. It's actually automotive paint, but it's got that much orangier red, like Chevy red. I don't know if you guys have ever had to paint like an old 350 block or something, and you wanted to paint it. You would go get Chevy red back in the day, and it's like a little bit of an orangey red. It's this color. So I'm hoping what's in this can is actually this color. They're just calling it gloss red, but to me, you can see the difference here. See, this is red. See how that's a little bit orangier? So I got this to do the chassis with. What we need to figure out, so we have certain parts like what we have to attach first is, what we have to attach first actually is this cross member in the A-arms. So like stuff like this, I'm going to go ahead and glue up. So this part is red. These will be painted black, the A-arms myself. But I'm trying to figure out how far we want to take that. And I'll do this on my own time. I'm just trying to explain to you guys my thought process while I build these models, right? So I can go ahead and attach the firewall because it's going to be red. We'll go ahead and attach that. But where we start getting is when we start getting into the cages. I think I can attach this cage before we paint. But my worry is, like this side of the cage, we've got padding and a net. All this needs to be painted black. Same with the bars in the back. So the cage, or the cage itself is going to be the red, but we've got pieces of padding that need to be painted black. I'm afraid we're going to if we start getting too many pieces attached to the chassis, we're going to kind of paint ourselves in a corner. We're not going to be able to get in there to paint these pieces. But I do want to, I like to glue up as much as we can before we paint. It just makes it easier. So I think we'll be able to, I don't know what all, I'm going to do that. I'm going to figure out before next episode what all we can get attached here before we paint. In fact, I'm going to go ahead and get it all painted. So when we come back tomorrow, all that'll be ready to go. And you can kind of see where we went with it. Because some of these parts like this, I'm pretty sure I'm going to have to paint on its own separately. I think there's going to be quite a few parts like that, unfortunately. Anyways, that's my thought process with building out the chassis. But let's go ahead now. I think what I want to do, let's go ahead and put on our pump here, or our pump belt, I should say. So this is our back side here. Let me just give it a quick little clean like that. Go ahead and clean. What I like to do is just try to scrape off a couple of the surfaces. You don't have to do the whole. When I put this glue on, it's going to cover the whole peg. So if I have just a couple surfaces that are bare plastic, that's where we'll make our bond. And it does not take much. It doesn't take much to make a bond with CA glue. When I say much, I mean surface area. You can always think back. Where did I put my cap? Oh, here it is. You can always think back to the old Crazy Glue ad where they would hang a guy by his head or it was actually by a hard hat. I'm trying to make sure I have this the right way. It goes this way. By his hard hat with just a drop of glue, right? That was the whole point, is it doesn't take much. And they lift him up off the ground and it held his weight with just a drop of glue. All right, so that's that. We need to add, we'll need to add the, we're almost out of time, so I'm just gonna show you what this is gonna look like. I'll do it on my own. We'll need to add the distributor, and boy, that sits right in the way of the filter. That seems, that doesn't seem, that's where it goes. But that's completely blocking the filter. Anyways, I'll go ahead and glue that on, but that's how that's going to go, is our plug wires. And then we'll have to attach, we'll attach our headers, which will be here. And when we come to, so you can kind of see how all that's going to look. I'm going to do that. I'm about to run out of time on my SD card here in my camera. So I'll just do this on my own. What I might do is, I think I'm going to use a little brown wash on the headers themselves, because that is actually that heat wrap. The reason they're white is it's a heat wrap. So what I'll probably do is try to take some black wash around it, just kind of dirty them up, make them look a little more, give them some texture, like they're tape, like it's that heat tape stuff, whatever you call it. And I think then I'll have to do a little bit more wash, like on our alternator and some stuff in our filter, and just to kind of make everything look uniform. And I think that'll have the motor together. In fact, you've probably already seen it, because I think it's probably in the thumbnail. But I think what I'll also do, once I have it all together, I'm going to take a picture. I'll put it right here at the end so you can see how we finished up. But I thank you for joining me. Tomorrow, it's going to be chassis day. So I'm going to go ahead and get the parts prepped for the chassis for tomorrow. We'll start putting the chassis together, and yeah, we'll see how far we can get with the chassis. I've already pre-painted actually a bunch of the pieces, but I'll get the rest of that done. Thank you for joining me. Please leave me those comments and hit the like button and subscribe if you want to keep up with this. Check the playlist if you want to catch previous episodes or any of the other builds on the channel. Go check them out. I appreciate it, and it helps. And just leave me those comments. Let me know what you think, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
This